my honor to introduce my friend, my teacher, one of the most spiritual people I know. And you can tell somebody who is really spiritual by the lightness in their step, in their life, and not being afraid to curse a little bit.
No. That's terrible.
So here is Frans.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just had Jeff does these amazing sensiatsu massages. I just had one, so I'm still floating about. So if you ever want one, book in. It's fantastic. Shall I make a list? Who wants to book in already? So how is Cincinnati? Is it good?
Yes.
Yeah? That's good.
Flowers everywhere.
I know, I was walking around yesterday downtown, absolutely beautiful with tulips. I thought it was in Holland actually. I took photos and I thought I took those photos 2 weeks ago when I was in Holland. Really beautiful. What was the park?
Friendship Park.
Friendship Park. God, it's really nice. Except I heard that in the next couple of days it's going to be cooler again, huh? No? We stay hot?
We'll see.
Oh, so thank you so much. Yeah, so Jeff asked me to come and give a talk here again and at his wonderful yoga studio. A good evening. So, some people are always late. Hey, Max! Hey! That's me. That's all good. So, yes, so Jeff asked me to give a talk here, and Zainab and Sundar. So, that's maybe what I'm going to do then. I could do some dancing as well. I'm not sure what I feel like doing today after this nice massage I had, and I was doing some treatments today. Oh, just out of curiosity, who practices Reiki? Oh, that's good. Who practices yoga? I said, this is a yoga studio. Oh man, also good. Who practices nothing?
It's a good practice.
It's really good. The practice of nothing. I'm just warming up. I'm not sure I'm still in that nice.
Take two.
Jeff whacked me out with his take two. So actually this is what I want to talk about because for me when we talk about spirituality, as Jeff was saying, some little light spring in your step. But when we talk about spirituality, or we talk about embodying spirituality, and when we talk about embodying, it says it already, it's in our body, right? It's not something out here. So I want to talk a little bit about that tonight because I think it's very important. And maybe it's because I'm going through that myself. I started some physical practice again. I'm not really a sports person, but recently I picked up, I only went to 5 classes, some martial arts. And but it made me really think also, and prior I was doing some exercises and meditation practices, so to really be in your body, right? So to carry that spirituality with you in your body. For me, that really also makes that we carry it with us in all we do. So sometimes we think that spirituality is maybe sitting in a pillow and we sit like, and then we go out of the door and we go, oh, fucking shit, help, and we're a bastard. And then we're nice and calm on the meditation pillow. Oh, there's young children here. Don't say that, Frans. You didn't hear it, huh? No. Just saying. It's all good. I'm from Holland. That says it all. So anyway, So yeah, really that it is in your body. And you know, for example, within the precepts we have in the system of Reiki, we have do not anger and do not worry. And if you look at someone who is angry, what do you see? How do you know that person is angry?
Your body.
The body, thank you. If someone is worried, how do you know they're worried? How do you see it? The same in the body. So if we can already see that when a person is angry, we can see it in their body. If a person who is worried, we can see it in their body. So if we want to heal that, where do we have to look? In the body, right? So for me, this is, I think, is really important, because often we think when we practice some spirituality, we have to do it somewhere up here, right? But the more I look up here, then the less I'm in the body, the less I'm transforming my anger and worry. That makes sense? So it's really important that we really start to look within our practice, no matter if it's Reiki or Tai Chi or Qigong or Buddhism or yoga, that we really start to look inside our body. And for example, I think this is also why in a lot of those traditions like Buddhism, what are you laughing about? Maria is always naughty, you know, she's just... Anyway, I didn't see it. So, yes, that we really in the body. So this is why all these spiritual traditions, for example, Tai Chi, we start first with movements in the body. Qigong, we have movements. Yoga, asanas, for example. The system of Reiki, we learn quite tactily touch ourselves, right? And touch the body. So it's really important, therefore, to focus on that body, right? I see it a bit like alchemy. When we perform alchemy, we transform something, isn't it? Right? There's a transformation taking place. Now, if I think about alchemy and I want to transform something, then it has to be in a pot. Right? If I do it outside the pot, it's really difficult, because say if I transform some liquids or whatever and I don't stick it in a pot, it's all over the place. Right? So I need to put it in a pot. This is your pot. Yeah? This is the physical pot where the alchemy takes place, where the transformation takes place. So in a way we can say, what is that transformation? Well, it's transforming from when we are angry and worried and not being grateful and not being true to our way in being and not being compassionate, to a way where we can soften the anger, soften the worry, be grateful, be true to our way in being and compassionate. Of course, if we really look at a deeper layer and we say we're all this beautiful bright light, then that is already there. Right? It's not something we accumulate, but it's more transforming. Right? Because normally we focus always on one side, where we often get angry and worried and fearful and we're not being grateful. So we kind of then transform it to that space where we are less angry, less worried, less fearful. But we really have to do this in the body. And therefore that transformation is taking place in this physical vehicle. And for example, in yoga, maybe with meridians or nadis, a chakra, or from a Japanese perspective, a hara, energy centers. But also, where else do we store anger? If we think about a body, maybe in an organ, right? Or where do we store worry? Also maybe in an organ, or in some cell somewhere. So again, we need to go within to transform that. That make sense? Mm-hmm. But here's an interesting part, because sometimes in the system of Reiki, for example, when we use in Reiki 2 a symbol or a mantra, we kind of see it here, right? Or we even say sometimes that Reiki is there. Or maybe if I chant a mantra, it's almost like I'm projecting it outwards. Right? Or even when maybe I do an asana and I do a posture, but my mind is somewhere outwards. That makes sense? So therefore, actually, when we do these practices, we need to bring the mind inwards. So if I work, for example, with a symbol and mantra in Reiki, then instead of having it here, I need to put it in here. Because this is where the transformation takes place. So the more I project it outwards, good morning, afternoon, evening, welcome. So therefore, the more I keep it focusing outwards, is there then a transformation taking place inside the body? Not really, right? Because I'm cooking it outside the pot. Right? I want a transformation, that alchemy, you want to take place in that pot, in this physical body. So therefore also, for example, in Buddhism, maybe you recite a mantra or you visualize a deity. In the beginning, yes, we might do this outside for convenience sake, because often we see these things quite externally, but then we have to bring it inside ourselves, right? Very slowly. So for example, again, if I, for example, do a Japanese mantra, a very simple one, A-O-U-E. If I chant it just like projecting it outwards, A-O-U-E, A-O-U-E, I'm very much in my head. But if I really take a deep breath and then really feel that breath and my mind here inside my body, and then do Aoi, Aoi, it feels quite different, right? And also when I chant here and I'm just projecting it outwards, then it's only this is starting to have that vibration. Maybe not even that, but maybe it just goes like this. But if it comes from here, then that vibration goes through your whole body, right? And therefore, that's where the transformation takes place. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So sometimes I see, when we practice yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong or Reiki, and people have been practicing for a long time, and yet no transformation is taking place. Maybe a tiny little bit. And then they get a little bit dissatisfied, and then they say, well, I also want to do this, and then they keep practicing that, and again, kind of after 2 years or 6 years or 2 months, no transformation takes place. So then we pick another one, and then we keep collecting all these different teachings, and yet no transformation takes place. Why? Because often we utilize the tools quite externally, right? So we need to learn how to really bring it inwards, inside your body. This is the vehicle where you want to free up that anger, right? What happens when you free up anger inside of your body? What happens to your energy?
Less dense.
A what?
Less dense.
Less dense. Yeah, so it starts to flow more. Right? What happens if I release some worry inside my body? What happens to my energy? Also less dense, right? Exactly the same. But again, we hold it also tight inside our body. Same with trauma. Doesn't matter, whatever trauma that is. Right? This is why we maybe go for a massage or acupuncture or acupressure. Right? Is really freeing up this energy inside of us. Right? So that we free up that tension. I know it, if I'm a bit tense, then I have the tendency that it goes into my neck. But if I want to release that tension in my neck, if I project something, a mantra or a symbol or a deity or even a posture within yoga, and I do the posture but my mind is there, then it's very difficult to release the tension here, right? I have to calm the body, so I have to go inside. So therefore, I think it's a really important element that the more we practice, the more we also slowly bring whatever we do inside your body. And therefore we embodying spirituality. For example, in the system of Reiki we have just for today. And just for today, do not anger. But today, from a Japanese perspective, actually means in every single thing we do today, interweave it with the precepts. No anger, no worry, no fear, being grateful, being true to your way in your being, and being compassionate. Man, it's difficult, huh? It is easy maybe here in the yoga studio, we all go and we all feel relaxed. And then we go outside and it's warm outside, you know, and I go to the ice cream shop and it's closed and you get all angry and then you get worried where to get another ice cream. Right? And you have to go to Grater's and then Grater's is closed. They ran out of ice cream because all of you bought it. And then we're angry and worried and fearful. But, you know, so it's easy to do if we do it in a quiet place. But if we want to bring it outside of us, then also if we become too spacey and we do it up here, then we walk around like this. Hey man, this is cool. It's great, but it's also very easy then to get angry and worried. Right? Anybody question about that?
I do.
Yes.
What about really, really old anger that's still like stored somewhere in our body from when we were kids?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same, you know. So, as I say, trauma is stored in your body, right? It's very easy to know from when we were a kid or maybe when we were in a mom's tummy. I don't know, right? So if I want to heal that, if I want to transform that, then again, I have to go deep inside my body, isn't it? Really, really deep.
Do you feel like that has to happen in layers? Like,
yeah, sometimes that happens in layers, you know. I see it a bit like this, that we always kind of come back. It's not like a linear journey. Say if I drop some wine on my shirt, then I go and wash it, and it looks gone. And then in this a little bit darker room, but if I then go outside, I can like, oh, it's still there. So within the system of Reiki, you have something what they call like the great bright light. So then when we go deeper in our practice and we really transform our energy system in a more luminous one, right? Because we've covered it up with all sorts of layers. This luminosity exists already, right? It's not that we accumulate it, but we can't see it because we've covered it up with anger and worry and fear and trauma, etc., etc. But when we peel it away, we have more light, more luminosity. And when we have more luminosity, if I switch on the lights here really bright in this room, what do we start to see? More dust, right? Jeff, have you been cleaning? That's why it's not just dark here to make it all cozy. Right? It just can't be bothered to clean. Right, lower the lights, Frans, it's a bit dirty. No problem. But if we make the lights brighter, then we can see a little bit all the mess everywhere. It's the same within yourself. So in the beginning, slowly we see something, we deal with it, and sometimes it feels like we've dealt with it. And then 6 years later or 2 years later or 5 months later, we go, shit, there's still some traces left of it. Because we think that that wine stain is gone, but then when we put a torch on it, then we see, oh, there's still traces of it, right? But again, this is inside our body, right? It's not stored somewhere up there. It's stored right here in your physical body. And I think this is so important if you want to succeed in a spiritual practice. And what I mean by that is that you really look inside of that anger from when you were a kid. And I think this is also why we often use a spiritual practice as an escape. Right? We go and sit on a mat. Don't get me wrong, we're going to sit on the mat, or we go yoga or Tai Chi or Reiki or meditation or Buddhism or whatever, and then we like to be up here in La La Land. It's nice. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. I do it sometimes. I like La La Land. Wasn't that a musical? Right? What is it? Ryan Collin? No, I don't know. Yeah, that's it. So I like to be in La La Land. But if I'm in La La Land, I'm up here. Nothing is going to change. Hey, come inside. How are you?
Good.
That's good. I'm good too. Hi, how are you? Oh, everybody's coming in. Anybody else?
Sorry.
So, but why we do this often, that we go here, because when we go deep into the past anger, right, we have to confront the anger, isn't it? There's no escape. So if we see a spiritual practice as an escape outside of the body, so that we don't have to deal with our trauma and pain and discomfort, then we can be practicing something for a long, long time, but that alchemy of change is not going to take place. That makes sense? Right? So really, if we want to have that change within ourselves, from being angry and worried and fearful to being actually grateful, being true to our inner being and compassionate, we have to start cleaning up. Right? And it means we have to confront that there is some stuff here, and then we go, man, that's old stuff. I don't need this anymore. Anybody want this? Yeah, there we go, you can have it. No, just kidding. Sorry, Jeff. But do you know what I'm saying? But if we always ignore it, then it just sits there. And what happens when it sits there in your body? It festers and it gets stuck, and then it becomes more and more stuck. Right? I moved to Holland about a year ago. I lived in Australia for 20 years. I took 4 suitcases. And that was it. It felt so good. Right? And then when I got back in Holland, I almost gave 1 suitcase away. And then I had another suitcase in Australia waiting for me. And I went there 3 months later, and I was teaching a retreat. And at the end of the retreat, I thought, you know what? It had all knickknacks in it, what I thought, it would be nice. And I go, who want this book? Who want these shoes? Right? And it felt so good. But this is the same inside. You know, we all know how good it feels if you clean your house and it's a little bit more open. My mum is 81, you know, and then she's trying to get rid of some stuff, but it's still lots of little knickknackies. And the other day she said, Frans, can you polish my floor? She's got a wooden floor. So I said, no problem. So the furniture had to be a bit moved about, and she's got this chair in front of the kind of door. And I always tell her, Mom, get rid of the chair. She's 81, and now she's got these little walker. I said, you can hardly go through the door. No. So I said, this cane chair, do you like it? Out. Do you like this? Out. But what about my little knickknacks? I said, oh, it can go in the bookshelf. And she goes, but there's all these books. I said, and they're old. So I wrapped them also out. And the first few moments it was a bit like this. And then later on she stood back and said, this feels good. It feels nice and clear and empty. Right? But what she meant, it also felt good in her self. Right? Less clutter. So therefore, but it's difficult because, you know, my mum has collected stuff for 81 years. And some things she might have still from, you know, they're 75 years old and she's been holding on tight to it, and now suddenly her son goes, nick it away, and she goes, no! It's been there for 75 years. I never touched it, I never looked at it, but it looked nice. You know what I'm saying? So it's really good sometimes to clean your house out, but it's also your house. This is your house, right? And we need to clean it out if we want to create a transformation. And what is that transformation? Again, just to reaffirm it, from storing anger and trauma and pain and worry, and if we release that inside our body, how we all know, if you feel less angry, are you walking more stiff or are you walking more light? Light, right? If you let go of your worry, is there less tension or more tension in your body? Less tension. So what starts to happen to your body?
Relaxes.
It relaxes. It feels more at ease. You feel more comfortable. What happens to your energy inside your body? More positive. It starts to flow more. Huh? Stronger. Huh? So, will that have a benefit on someone else, on your friend? Yes, right? So therefore, that transformation is not just your transformation. The more you clear this out, the more your energy starts to flow clearer. Even if in some Reiki schools they might say, oh, we're just channeling energy. We don't have to do anything. But if we're really channeling something, then it has to go through something, right? Like a straw or a garden hose. Then we have to make sure that the garden hose has no kinks in it or knots. No, if there's a knot in it, then it gets stuck. So if I have knots in myself, in my energy system, or if I'm knots in my heart or wherever you have a knot, then that energy is also not flowing. So therefore we have to untidy those knots in a way. But those knots are not here. Right? So next time when you do some practice, really focus on that it's inside your body. Right? When you do a posture for yoga, we might, I don't know, I don't do yoga, but yeah, you might do a posture, but if I do like this, and my mind is projected somewhere up there, or I can do this posture and really go deep inside my body. Do you know the difference? Right? Or I chant a mantra, and instead of just having it come out here, focus here, and then let it really resonate inside your body. Or if you visualize a deity in Buddhism, yes, have it here if you want, but then later on, bring it inside. You are the deity. Right? So, very, very important. Anybody a question about it?
I have a question. So if I'm struggling with this, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's in the body and that's where the action is.
Yeah.
But to solve a problem, you've got to go at a higher level. And I'm thinking it's a spirituality that works on the body anyway. It's clear, the pipe has to be clear of the kinks, but what flows through it is the spirituality that works on the body.
Yeah, of course, we have mind, body, energy, right? In for example, in Japanese, you have Sanmitsu, the three mysteries. And we can say that the mind is everywhere. Yeah, it's like unlimited, no beginning, no end. But then we have to say, where's the mind anchored? Where is it at this moment? Fran's mind anchored. Right? In your body. Right? Even that we can say, yes, Fran's mind, if we really look at it from a very deep level, is expanded, it's everywhere, but it's anchored here. Mm-hmm. So therefore here, this is your beginning. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So therefore, again, we have to go inside, because if I say, oh, it's just here, let go of the anchor, what happens to this physical thing? It's dead. Right? And Frans cannot bring his spiritual energy in the world because he's laying here all stiff. That makes sense too? So therefore, that spirituality is anchored in here, inside your body. So yeah, not easy, and I think it's also not easy because when we start to clean this, we might have a physical reaction. I know you all. When I ask who's done Reiki or yoga, you all went like this. Oh, you have a treatment, or you do some chanting, or you do some postures, and at the end you go home and you go, man, all these emotions come up, right? Have you ever had that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not easy. And then you cry and you stand in a corner, or you go like this. Right? Or not. Or you go partying with Zainab. Yeah, they're also in their body, right? They need to be really anchored in their body to actually swirl around. So if you look at all these old teachings, even in shamanism, it's inside your body. Right? You are the earth, you are the water, you are the fire, you are the air, you are space. It's not something here. But if we start to see all these spiritual practices an escape from our trauma and our physical pain, then it becomes very difficult to heal it, right? So if we really, first of all, therefore, we have to say, do I want to heal? That makes sense? Do I really want to heal? It's difficult sometimes. And then we have to ask ourselves the second question. If I say yes, I want to heal myself from a pain or discomfort or emotional stuff, then we have to say, where do I want to look for it? Right? In here. Don't escape. It's nice, but then healing becomes tricky. It becomes unstable. So we have to go really deep within, but no one else can do it for you. Of course, I had a nice Sayatsu from Jeff, what is great, but even that I have to instigate myself, right? Not that tonight I'm in bed like this and Jeff suddenly appears out of nowhere and starts to do this thing. I have to ask Jeff and say, hey Jeff, can you do this for me? And also when he does it, it's quite physical. That's really pulling the meridians and mama points, or however he does it, you have to ask him, he does a great job. But again, it's really facilitating that flow inside your body. That everything becomes more flexible. So, mind, body, energy. So, but the body is the vehicle for your mind and for your energy, isn't it? Your body is also the anchor for your energy. It's not somewhere, we might say, yes, the energy is out here, true. But if there's no body, if I'm not here, right, then Fran's energy is just floating around there. So now, at this moment in time, it's anchored in here. That makes sense? So therefore, if I want to do something with my energy, where do I have to look in, where I have to do it? There or here? Here. But again, it's not easy. Because if you guys didn't see it, right? I saw it without the chairs and without the people. There's a layer of dust here on the floor. And Jeff is a bit messy, but don't worry. But if there's a layer of dust here and I'm going to sweep, what happens?
It's all, the dust rises up.
And the dust rises up. You get dust clouds. And we go, right? But that's also with healing. If we start to do healing and we start to sweep, you get dust clouds. Not always easy. Right? So if we say, oh, healing is easy, I think we're much up here. We're too much up here. Right? It really needs to be in this vehicle. This is the alchemy changes in your body. Now when you have had a treatment or a massage, or hey, do you feel physically lighter or not?
Yes.
Right, yes. If you feel physically lighter, what happens to your energy? Do you feel lighter or heavier? Lighter. What happens to your mind? Lighter. So mind, body, energy. But both, or all three of them, have to be in harmony. And this is also, if I say, let's work with the mind, and I say, okay, everybody, no more anger, no more worry. It's difficult, right? Why is it difficult? Because the mind is very slippery. If I ask you, point out to Frans's mind, it's very difficult. You don't know where to point, right? We might say here, but that's my brain. Right? And if I say point to Frans's energy, it's also difficult. But if I say point to Frans's body, we can see it, right? So this is why traditionally, in all these practices, you first touch upon the body. It's the simplest method, right? Because if I say go and do something with your mind, we go like, what? Right? But the body, I can ask you all, stick your hands in the air, right? Man, what a tough crowd here in Cincinnati. Put your hands in the air. Yeah, look. It's easy, huh? That was easy. Well, tough crowd in Cincinnati. Tough crowd.
Someone ate all the ice cream.
They ate all the ice cream. But that's very easy. We can all kind of do this. And it's just stick your hands in the air. Wow, 6. Yeah, 6 words. But if I ask you, stop being angry and being worried, also 6 words, man, that's difficult. True?
Yes.
Because it's so slippery. So therefore the first point of call in all of these spiritual teachings is your body. Tai Chi, Qigong, hands-on healing with Reiki, asanas in yoga, all your physical body, because we can move it. And therefore if I move my body, my mind becomes also a bit more flexible. My energy also becomes more flexible. And then only later on, when we really feel that we're in our body, right, really centered and grounded, then we can go to the deeper teachings of energy and mind. That makes sense too? Because then we realize that it's inside my body that I have to put my mind and my energy. Yep?
Yes.
It's very easy. Let's do a little exercise. I started to do some martial arts. Are you ready? No, just kidding. Maria, yeah? Okay, just put your feet flat on the ground. And we're going to do a little mantra, very simple. A-O-U-A-E. A-O-U-A-E. And what I'd like you to do, just chant it, but put your awareness a little bit around your mouth, that you just kind of project it outwards, okay? We do a couple of minutes, okay? So, just take a nice just breath, relax, focus your awareness on around your mouth, and then just go A-O-A, A-O-A, Now we do the next one, where you visualize a bright little sphere inside your body, inside, just below your belly button. In Japanese it's called the hara. Really inside, and then you put your awareness there, and then we do the chanting, but you keep your mind there, okay? So not that the mind is being that way, but really deep inside your body, you rest your mind as much as we can. You might find that you get distracted, you go like, oh, we think about yesterday and tomorrow, or analyze today, but keep your mind on that little bright sphere inside your body, and then when we chant, your mind rests here. That makes sense? Okay, we do the same thing. So, take a couple of nice deep breaths into your belly to really feel that little center, that bright little sphere. It's nice and luminous inside your body, just below your belly button. Not on the surface of your skin, but inside your body. difference? Yeah. Oh, quite a lot of hands. What? Anybody who wants to share something? What the difference was?
Vibrationally deeper.
Vibrational, deeper. Yeah. Anybody else?
More intense.
More intense. Yeah.
It's a deeper note.
Deeper note. Yeah.
You feel it in your whole body.
You feel it more in your whole body. Yeah. So yeah.
I can feel the whole room more too.
What's that?
I can feel the whole room more too.
Yeah, of course. Of course, because if we only hear, then we're not really centered and grounded, right? But when we really centered and grounded, then poof, like if this bowl, if I want to make a sound, right? And I want this to vibrate, right? Nothing happens, right? I have to hit the bowl. So I have to hit the physicality. So in my practice, if I'm just hitting something outside of myself, in the end you just get really tired and said, man, this is not working. And then we go, I want another spiritual practice because it's not working, and we do something else. And now we go again like this. And again, it's not working. That makes sense? But if I hit the body and really go inside, then everything starts to vibrate more. Right? And this bowl is also nice and grounded and centered. Right? So even if I turn it upside down and I put it like this, the vibration is not so, right? So therefore, if it's just like this, actually it needs to be like this. Centered and grounded. So the more centered and grounded we are, the easier it is to do your practice. I know often we say, oh, but I need to let go of the I, right? In a spiritual practice. But actually, to be able to let go of the I, you first need to understand what the I is. Right? If for my whole life I've been trying to escape the I, due to trauma in my body, whatever that is, and I'm kind of going here, then if I say let go of the I, you have no clue what you have to let go of. Right? For example, if I ask you to let go of your anger, and we're always saying, no, I'm never angry. And actually you're really angry all the time, but you keep saying no, then it's very difficult to let go of the anger, right? Because we don't acknowledge it. True?
Yeah, true.
So therefore, I first have to acknowledge my anger to let go of it. I first have to make it really sure that I have a really good sense of who I am, my I. I have to have a really solid I to actually let go of the I. That makes sense too? Mm-hmm. So I have to investigate the I. Where do I investigate the I? Outside or inside? Inside. Because it's here, right? It's right here. It's not tomorrow or yesterday or in some other magical place. This is what I like, heaven is on earth. That means it's in your body. So where do we have to look for heaven? If I look up there all the time, am I going to find it? No. It's here. Right? And we all know that when you feel good, when you don't have any homework, for example, right? Or you have a lovely girlfriend or boyfriend, and you feel good. Where do you feel that goodness? Right? It feels good in your body. In yoga, we call it inner bliss. Right? Yes, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah, good. I was just checking. I don't know any yoga, but inner bliss. Right? What does it say already? It doesn't say outer bliss. Right? Inner bliss. Where is this inner bliss? Huh?
Inside.
Inside. It's in yourself. And why do we feel this inner bliss? Because all your energy inside your meridians, inside your organs, inside all your cells have been freed up because we dealt with our trauma. That makes sense? We let go and softened our trauma. So all your cells, instead of being like this, angry and worried, they can loosen up, they can relax. And then when we have more space in our body, right, we feel more spacious, we walk better, we feel more flexible, we have more enjoyment, because if I'm angry, I walk like this, right? If I'm worried, I walk like this. And then when someone else or something or myself says something and that anger comes up, but now there's more space in your body, what happens to that anger? There's nowhere to go. That makes sense? If my body is like this, all tight, other new anger comes up, I'm holding it again very tight. I'm very narrow-minded. So, but if my body is very spacious, and because of the spaciousness, Max says something and I get really pissed off because he stole my top in Holland. and his anger comes up, but because of the spaciousness, it's not sticking. That makes sense too? So when we feel more spacious physically, energetically, and in our mind, then also we get less angry and worried and fearful. Someone had a question at the back.
Yes, sir. What about sound vibration as far as triggering the nervous system, like physiological triggers, chant, or maybe even like bass music?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's a bit the same. You know, why we, for example, that singing bowl, and you can feel it in your body, or if we listen to some music and we feel that vibration. Or I went to Jeff and he stimulates this, and he actually did some like this, right? So maybe not like that, but he does it much better. Right? And I feel that vibration going through my body is wonderful. Don't get me wrong, is wonderful. I go for a session, or I like to have a sound bath, but Jeff is not always there. Right? I can't always put the music up. I can't always have this singing bowl with me. But I always have my own instrument. Right? So therefore, this is your instrument. It's nice to have an external instrument. It's wonderful. Don't get me wrong. And sometimes we need that. It's nice to relax and someone bangs those bowls and you just, lovely. Or nice to lay and Jeff stretches you in all sorts of directions and you go, oh! Also wonderful. But this is your instrument. So again, if we really want to change this, we have to practice on a daily basis with this instrument. So for example, I like Bruce Lee. And he had this wonderful quote, and he said, "I'm not afraid of the 1,000 different kicks you practice once, but I'm afraid of the one kick you practice 1,000 times." So this is why in yoga, in Tai Chi, in Qigong, in all of these spiritual teachings, one of the most important elements is practice, but not just practice, but repetition. Right? We stir up this energy again and again and again and again and again and again. Right? This is where really the alchemy takes place. True repetition. If I want to play a music instrument and I want to be good at it, what do I have to do? Practice. And I have to
Keep practicing.
keep practicing. I have to repeat it again and again and again. Right? And I have to practice the same thing. Right? But nowadays we practice a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of that and a bit of this. And suddenly we're all over the fucking place. Oh, excuse me. We're all over the place, right? And nothing happens, right? But if we do one practice again and again and again and again and again, it goes more and more and more inward, right? Deeper and deeper and deeper. This is why all these yoga postures were practiced again and again and again. All these mantras are practiced again and again and again. You do the same thing again and again. I was in 2016 in Japan for a week and a half with this priest. We did one mantra from about 4 in the morning till about 11 o'clock at night. Right? And again, Frans again. Okay. Okay, and again. But man, did it stir up some shit. Right? Not easy. A, because we find it difficult to do repetitive things. But we all know if I do it again and again and again and again, I get really good at it. Right? If I just touch upon little things, I become a jack of all trades and a master of none. Right? You want to be a master. Yeah. And a master is not something what you buy. A master is something what you cultivate within yourself. Thank you. And how do we cultivate it? By repeating the practice again and again and again. But it's the same in a class. If you want to, I don't know what you guys study. Do you study at all? My son does a musical theater, so you know he does dancing and singing. And the other day he got a mark back from me, he had some exam for dancing, and he said, oh, my dancing was not so good. He said, so I'm going to take extra lessons. Right? I'm going to take extra lessons. And it's the same. If we feel that our spiritual practice is not doing what it's meant to do, instead of trying to hunt more different practices, investigate why it's not doing what it's want to do. So maybe adjust the practice, bring it more inwards, right? Really, this is your tuning fork. So bring it more inwards. And then maybe check, ask yourself. This is sometimes one of the precepts in the system of Reiki is being translated as be honest. Right? We have to look brutally honest in the mirror and say, am I having this repetition of my practice or not? Right? And if we then brutally honest say to ourselves, nah, I've been a bit slack, then we have to adjust it. But this is so wonderful. You have here in Cincinnati, we're in Cincinnati here for everybody, great Reiki community, great yoga schools. Is it still working?
Yes.
Oh, just checking. No. 10, 9, 8. Maria set the camera only does 45 minutes little thingies, so we're timing it. Anyway, where were we? I got distracted. So that's because I wasn't really focusing in my body. Then, yeah. Right? So this is what happens, right? Then we get distracted, and then we feel it's not working, but because we are distracted. But therefore, turn inwards, 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 again and again with the same technique. It sounds boring, and sometimes it is indeed boring, but at the long run, your alchemy, your change is going to be really rewarding, because you start to feel more and more that inner peace, that inner bliss. Right? And as it says already, it's inner peace. It's not something here, it's inside your body. Anybody else a question?
You described, and I noticed with that, and I've always been a big one for visualizations.
Yeah.
You talk about visualizing the ball
Yeah.
down here. It's always been a good tool for me because a lot of times I'll utilize like breath,
Yeah.
like doing mantra, breathing in the energy and seeing it here and exhaling it. Seeing it. Are there any other tools that help you when you practice not get distracted?
Yeah, so you have to also always find for yourself the right tool. Right? So if you really think about it, mind, body, energy, right? Mind, body, energy. Well, energy follows the mind. In fact, the body also follows the mind, right? Again, if my mind is angry, what happens to my body? My body gets angry. This is why, for example, within the system of Reiki, when you look at the precepts, it's all about the mind. There was here a poster. Oh yeah. Virtues, the gifts of character. I don't know what it is. I just picked it out of that. But I can't read quickly. But if I look at it, it's all about the state of mind. Right? And through this state of mind, when I'm loving and kind and confident and some courage and creativity and flexibility, what happens to my mind? Okay? It has these elements, these virtues. What happens to my body?
It's more expanded.
More open, more expanded, more flexible. Huh? What happens to my energy?
Flows.
Yeah, it also starts to flow more. So therefore, we have to check for ourselves mind, body, energy. But sometimes it's easier to practice first with the body, or for some people with the energy, difficult for most of us with the mind. I think particularly in our modern day of age. Huh? Why? The other day I was sitting next to someone and they were playing a game. I said, "Oh, Frans, try it out." Well, I was trying it out. After 5 minutes, I could feel my whole energy was going like this. I started to get like, man, how can you play that for half a day? Right? Because we have numbed ourselves so much that we don't really feel that anymore. So no playing game.
Don't worry.
I'm just checking it. You can play with your girlfriend, that's better. No, just kidding, you didn't hear that. Cut that out of the video. But it is, because that's that interaction, right? Huh? When we with our bodies. So therefore we have to ask ourselves, am I more a mind person? Am I more a body person? Am I more an energy person? But we also have to be really smart. We can say, yes, I'm more a mind person, but then we have to ask ourselves, is my mind always up here or is it in here? If it's always up here, try to really go more in your body. So then we have to do more body exercises. Right? I was for a long time I'm still sometimes very there. So when I was young, I went dancing a lot. I didn't understand at that time, I wasn't into spirituality, but the dancing really helped me grounding and centering in my body. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Because if I go like this, what am I doing with my feet? I'm stamping. Where's my mind sometimes going? Here. Right? Unless you take those blue pills. No blue pills, kids. Take the red one, it's much better. No, just like really look at yourself. It's sometimes difficult to do. So therefore sometimes we need a teacher. But I think in our modern day of teaching, we've become a bit weak. Right? We try to be very soft with the student. No, you're doing well, it's all good. Right? But actually sometimes we have to say, man, get out of your head, go into your body, and now, come on, do your, right? Instead of, oh, no, it's all good, keep going. Right? My teacher in Japan, man, he takes no prisoners. He is like, I sit there and go, I feel all this anger coming up and this frustration, and I go, but that's great because then I can do something about it, right? He presses my buttons, but he can only press my buttons because you have them, right? Huh? If I don't have any buttons, and end of story. So he presses the buttons because I have them. But now it's my responsibility to do something about them. He's just showing, Frans, you have a button there. Right? And he goes, wink, and I go, whack. Right? And he goes, you have another one there, and you go, whack. True?
Yes.
But most of the time now, as teachers, we find it very difficult to press those buttons, because then we go, oh, the student feels, oh, there's anger coming up, and then as a student we project it to the teacher and they said, oh, the teacher pressed my buttons and this is wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? But actually it's good, because then we can do something about it. And so therefore, you have to ask yourself sometimes, what are my buttons? And how do I work with these buttons? So, with your body, mind, and energy. So sometimes, if my mind is all over the place, I need a hook. Right? I need to tie my mind to something. We can tie to a mantra. Or if you think about mindfulness, we tie to something, or a candle flame. But, but we can also tie it to the body. So if I want to bring my energy more into my body, I can say, okay, everybody just do it with your mind. Or maybe we do it. Okay? Put your feet flat on the ground. I do a little dance just in case. Okay, so just sit there quietly, and now with your mind, try to bring your mind to your belly button. Just bring it to your belly button. And normally that goes okay, keep going. And we're nice and quiet, right? It's easy. But now maybe I say, everybody think about your mum. Right? Your mind is gone already. Right? Or maybe I start to make a racket. It's much harder, right? To keep your mind tied to that spot. It's true? Okay, but now try it with your body. So this is what I like you to do. Just sit there quiet and just feel that you go like this. And your mind is tied to your hands, and then touch your belly button or just below your belly button. And on the next in-breath, again, we'd go like this. Just slowly with your hands, in-breath, follow that and bring it all the way down to just below your belly button. And now physically place your hands just below your belly button. Maybe a light pressure, that you really feel it. How did that go? Could you feel like a difference? So sometimes when we tie it to something more elaborate, our mind has to concentrate more. Right? If it's a bit too simple, our mind still can go like past, present, future, analyzing today. But if we tie it to a movement, right, with our hands, this is also sometimes with hands-on healing. In fact, traditionally hands-on healing was actually that you tie your mind to the hands. But now we go like this, and then we lay in bed and we fall asleep, and the next morning we go, man, I did some really great hands-on healing. No, you were sleeping. Right? Again, we have to be brutally honest to ourselves. If I kid myself and go, no, I was actually practicing. The other day I went to a meditation evening, someone invited me. I was just participating, a friend of a friend said, let's go to this evening. And they had some live sitar music. And Yeah, I was sitting next to two guys. That was about an hour meditation, and they were like, they literally were snoring, right? That's how they went. And then they went, look, they shook a bit like this, like. And I just but then after the meditation session was over for an hour, there was cups of tea and whatever, and I was standing next to them and I said, man, that was a really good meditation. Man, you just have been sleeping. Right? So we have to be brutally honest to ourselves. And what are we doing when we practice? Am I sleeping or am I actually meditating? Am I actually meditating or am I being distracted by past, present, future? Right? So I can do hands-on healing like this and be thinking about tomorrow. Or I can say, okay, could you feel the difference? So this is very important with any exercise we do. We have to constantly check, am I doing my posture in yoga? Is my mind all over the place? Or have I tied my mind in the posture? Right? Am I doing Tai Chi? Is my mind somewhere there and I'm just going? Or actually, is my mind tied to the movement? But when we do homework, if our mind is not tied to the homework, what happened?
You don't do anything.
You don't do anything, man, he's good. That's true, we don't do anything. It's the same thing, we have to tie the mind to the homework. It's the same. So, in a way, if we really tie our mind to homework, it's a spiritual practice. Right? Because that moment, we're not thinking about past, present, and future. True? If I tie my mind to cooking, and I'm really focused, then that is also my spiritual practice. However, if I then start to chant and I think about cooking, and I think I'm practicing a spiritual practice, then we're mistaken. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So therefore we have to check within a spiritual practice, is my mind tied to the mantra inside the body? Am not being distracted by past, present, future. If my mind is being distracted by past, present, future, bring it back. Or if you just let it, if you don't check, and you keep chanting for 2 years, you probably only get pain in your throat. And that alchemy process is not taking place. I spoke to someone the other day who's a dancer, and she said, Frans, I was dancing once, and she said, everything just disappeared. She said, it was just, and some of the people that were practicing, they said, what just happened to you? She said, they could feel it. Right? Because he was so focused without being distracted by past, present, and future that it became a spiritual experience. Do you know what I'm saying? So therefore, ultimately, if we do that in our daily life, then everything can become a spiritual practice. Right? Then we don't necessarily have to learn a difficult mantra or another modality. No, it's right here in your daily life. In the system of Reiki, today means all the actions you do today. We can make it a spiritual practice. How you drink your tea, how you cook, how you do your homework. Are you boyfriend, girlfriend? Not yet? Okay, I'm saying nothing. Just friends.
Yes.
Oh, good. Just checking. But anyway, I wasn't sure where I was going with that. Now, I was just going to say that if you kiss your boyfriend and girlfriend without being distracted by past, present, and future, then it is also a spiritual practice, right? Everything is a spiritual practice, as long as we're not being distracted by past, present, future. And we laugh about it, but it's actually true, isn't it? If you really check for yourself. But if I learn something, whatever it is, any kind of spiritual practice, and I do it and I don't bring it in my body, and I'm constantly analyzing it and thinking while I do this spiritual practice about past, present, future, what is happening with your energy? It's also in past, present, future, right? It's all over the place. And when my energy is all over the place, can an alchemy practice alchemy and change can take place? No. You really need to concentrate to have this alchemy taking place inside of you. And you have to do it again and again and again, through repetition. And this is why sometimes, you see someone who plays a music instrument on stage. And you say, man, this is just like a healing. Because they've become so one with the violin, so one with the music, so one with the audience, through repetition, through not being distracted by past, present, and future, that this playing the violin has become a spiritual practice. That makes sense? So now, because they are in that space, what can happen to the audience?
They can also be there.
They can also enter that space. I started to practice a martial arts again. I'm not a sports person, okay, I'll let you know already. But I felt very unfit, and I went to this fitness school. It's huge, like a massive. They've got like a little swimming pool, a sauna, all these machines, whatever they are, I don't know. And they had like a big yoga room as big as this, and then they have 2 other dojos. They do the work. They have like huge list of what they do there. And so I get the rounds. They tell me what there is, and I'm about to leave, and this guy goes, "Hey, Frans!" And I was 16. I practiced some karate, and it's the teacher who I had when I was 16. And so we start to chat again, and he said, "Oh man," I said, "I need to do something for my fitness." So he says, "Oh, why don't you come to karate again? That'll be fun." Really? Anyway, he twisted my arm, and I went, and I went again. I've been 5 times now, and then luckily I escaped to Ohio, Cincinnati. I was walking like this, blue all over my, But anyway, this happened. So we had to do some throw or something. And I'm with this partner, and we kind of try to throw each other on the ground, but it's not working. So my partner there, he says, calls the teacher, and the teacher goes, "I'm going to explain it on Frans." So he says, "Frans, give me a punch." Or I give him a punch, and boom, I lay on the floor. Right? And I'm laying on the floor, and I think, man, I just received a healing. And it sounds strange, and maybe from the outer viewpoint you think, "Why, he's crazy." But this guy, he's been practicing since he was 14. He's now 16. He's been doing it again and again and again. He doesn't do anything else. He just does karate, right? Again and again and again. He's so one with this technique. So when he threw me, he was so one with me that in fact it became a healing. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. So I get up and I said, "Can you do it again?" I asked him 3 times. It felt really good. And then later on I had a chat with him afterwards, and I said, "Man, it was so good." But I could feel him really, as soon as he stepped into that space, he wasn't thinking about, I have to punch, I have to grab him, I have to throw him. He was the throw, right? And how did he become the throw? Because he practiced it through repetition again and again and again. Just as the violinist becomes the violin, it becomes the music. Right? When you kiss your girlfriend, one other day, another girlfriend, doesn't matter, and you're one. Do you know what I'm saying? But you have to have some fun in Cincinnati. Come on. But do you know what I'm trying to say? Right? So we can only become the method if we don't have to think about it anymore. That makes sense? If we have to still think about it, what we're doing, we already in past, present, and future. We're already disconnected from that whole space. But we can do that through repetition. So here, maybe you can feel this. I'm not sure. It's a bit tricky. Energy is a bit tricky, right? So I can go and do this with my hand. Just up and down. And I think about lunch. I had a nice little lunch with Sundar, coffee lunch. And then we had a nice dinner last night, actually. If you go to this nice place, it's called Patience. Patience?
Please.
Oh, please. Start with a P.
Good luck finding patience.
But if you do the whole buffet, you have patience because it goes for a few hours. So, but it's called Please. It's absolutely delicious. So, I'm doing this. So my mind was a bit distracted. What happens then with my energy? Also distracted. So in a way, my movement becomes also distracted. But what if I say to myself, okay, Frans, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my mind, body, and energy in a non-destructive way. So not getting distracted by past, present, and future. And now I do the same movement. Do you feel the difference? Yeah? What did you feel the difference was?
More focused.
More focused? Yeah?
So peaceful.
More peaceful?
We both got on the same frequency.
We both got on the same frequency, yes. So there's an entrainment taking place. Why? Because I'm not being distracted by past, present, and future.
But yours wasn't up here enough. We brought it to the same equilibrium.
That's it.
We were
So
drawn in.
So therefore, when I'm not being distracted by past, present, and future, then automatically someone you encounter has the possibility already for healing to take place. But if I'm all over the place, then it's really difficult for that other person to have that feeling of healing. That makes sense? So that guy who was doing this throw, he was so focused, so in that entrainment, that it became actually a healing. Yeah, you became one. And so this is really, but he had to do it in his body, right? He had to train his body again and again and again and again. And we might say we don't have that in Reiki. Yes, you do. Because this is the vehicle where it's taking place. It's not out there. That makes sense? I think it's so important. I've been doing this for 20 years. I travel the world and I see so many people practicing spirituality and it's out there. And then they say, Frans, I've been doing this for a long time and it's not working. No, it's not working because it's not in here. Right? This is where the change takes place. This is where your trauma is stuck. That's what you want to free up because then, mind, body, energy. Right? They need to be in harmony. If we think it's only the mind, we're mistaken. If we think it's only the body, we're also mistaken. If we only think it's the energy, we're also mistaken. All three of them in harmony. This is why in Japan, Sanmitsu, the three mysteries. But they need to be in harmony. So you feel in harmony. And when you feel in harmony, then there's a possibility for another person to be in harmony with you. And then, if we can do it like this, focused, and we practice that again and again, through repetition and not being distracted, then you do your homework, and then someone sees you do the homework and goes, oh man, that feels nice. Someone sees you singing or playing the violin and you go, man, that feels good. That makes sense? So it's really important that we can really feel that inside our body again and again. There's a lovely video clip. I watched it again the other day. I watch it on a regular basis. And it's this couple dancing on a train platform. I'm not sure if you've seen it. If you Google dancing on a train platform, you probably get it. Beautiful music with it as well. But this couple is so entrained with each other. I watch it and it feels like a healing just by watching it. But of course, I need to also be willing to participate, right? I can see someone really being one with a music instrument, but if I feel very separate, that makes sense too? Then it's very difficult to also feel that healing taking place. I need to make that choice. I want to be part of this unification. Yeah? Anybody else a question about it?
So if you're saying that you want to be part of it and to go back to the snoring man, or if someone falls asleep.
Yeah.
So if we have clients that are coming for a session, Reiki, craniosacral, restorative, whatever.
Yeah.
And they fall asleep.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Do we want them to be semi-alert so they're participating, or it's okay if we say, if you fall asleep, your body needs that.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, happens. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a really good question. So, I'm not saying that the two guys who fell asleep during this meditation practice, that it was bad or good. They were just falling asleep, but it wasn't meditation.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They were asleep.
Right.
So therefore, we have to be brutally honest. So it also, of course, depends on my intent. Right? What is my intent?
As
So-
a practitioner or
Both. Right? My intent, if I want to come for a treatment, well, sometimes nice to just fall asleep. Sometimes I need to sleep. I just flew into Cincinnati, Ohio. I came from the red-eye flight from San Francisco, and I was a bit tired. So I might someone to do a treatment, you do a treatment on me, and I think, what, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. Well, okay, that's maybe what I need. And maybe that's my intent. Or I can say, hang on, I want to be really fully participating, then my intent is different. And therefore also ultimately we have to see what is our intent in healing. So here's an interesting thing. I can set my intent for healing my knee. Right? Maybe as a Reiki practitioner. Well, I'm going to heal my knee, that's my intent. Or I can set my intent that I might embody the precepts. If it's just the knee and that's my intent, then it will be very difficult to embody the precepts because it's not my intent. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yes? Mm-hmm. So, therefore also, as soon as I start my own practice, you have to ask yourself, what is the reason that I do this? What is my intent? Why am I doing this? Do I really want to heal myself? Do I really want to go inside? Then healing this pain in the knee can be okay, but if I just focus on the knee and I do hands-on healing and my knee pain is gone, but maybe I'm still a bastard. Right? Or if I change my perception, my pain in my knee might be still there, but I'm actually less of a bastard. And then we can be debating what is healing, isn't it? So therefore you have to ask yourself, what is your intent and what do you want to heal? And how far do you want to go? Right? Do you want to go to the end? Do you really want to go and say, I want to heal myself so that for the rest of my life I'm free of anger and worry, that I can be grateful, that I can be true to my way of my being, and that I can be compassionate to myself and others. Not just a weak little intent. No, we have to set a very strong intent, because sometimes we set weak intents. The other day, actually before I came on this trip, I realized my toothpaste was finished. Now, I live about 10 minutes from the shop, so I think my intent is going to the toothpaste, to the Whole Foods. I go into Whole Foods, buy all sorts of nice little things. I come back, no bloody toothpaste. I got distracted, right? Then I thought the next day, I need to really get some toothpaste because I squeezed the last bits out of it. I thought I need to go overseas. And again, I went to the shop. I got back. No fucking toothpaste. Okay, man, I'm so distracted. I was a bit distracted. My mom wanted to have a floor done, and this, I had to do this, I had to do this, I had to do that. No toothpaste. Huh? So I bought some toothpaste at the airport. But anyway, you get my hint, right? Sometimes our intent is weak. So I see it a little bit as a bow and an arrow. If I want to hit that word exit, and I aim it at that, is it going to hit that? No way. Huh? I have to aim at the exit. And then what do I have to do?
Practice.
Draw it, and then practice, and then let it go. So if I set my intent, I want to heal my knee, and I hold it this tight, then that arrow is going nowhere. Huh? And if I hold it intent too tight, what happens to my energy? It blocks, it's stagnant, it's not flowing. So I set my intent really clear, and then let go. But along the way, the arrow travels to exit, and some wind comes and goes that way. Right? Because this happened too. We set the intent. I set the intent. I thought I was very focused on getting toothpaste. And along the way to the supermarket, the wind came. Not the wind in Holland. My mind was creating wind. And then at the end of the year, you have something. That makes sense too? So really important. It's not about accumulating more exercises, because then you fill your house with rubbish. And what happens when we fill our house? Oh, you know that song? Our house. In the middle of the street. Now you guys are too young. It's madness. Google it. It's a great song. They all have these little bowler hats.
That's a great song.
Now you all know I'm 52. Now that's but does it make sense? Right? This is your house. Don't fill it with rubbish. And I'm not saying that all these different techniques are rubbish. No, but when you fill it up with all these different things, there's no place for it to practice. Right? I didn't do it. It was her. Quick, run. See, got the toothpaste. Yeah, that makes sense? So, therefore, the other day someone gave me a business card and said, Frans, what do you think of it? And on the back it said maybe 15 different modalities. I said, it looks great. And I gave it back and I said, I wouldn't personally come to you. And she was a bit offended and she said, why not? I said, I don't know what you really practice. What are you really good at? I'd rather go to someone who made one practice really focused, because now I know. This is why I come here to Cincinnati. I don't come for you guys. I come for Jeff. This is just a byproduct of coming to Jeff. I don't come here to do a class. I come for Jeff. Right?
Thanks, Jeff.
He's been doing this for so long. And Jeff, did I say that or not? I said to hit the mark more and more and more. That makes sense? But that comes through practice and through calming the mind, through patience and perseverance, and then slowly we start to hit the mark more and more and more. Does that make sense a bit? So therefore sometimes, we have to, with a client, we have to actually say, what is your intent that you come here? And do you mean it? It sounds hard, but sometimes we set this half-hearted intents, right? I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm going to do it tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes, right? And I go to England somewhere, and sometimes in these old pubs they have tomorrow free beer. And you come tomorrow and it's still tomorrow free beer, because tomorrow never arrives. And this is how we often set our intent. Right? And tomorrow never arrives, and then 2 years later you think, wasn't I meant to do some meditation last week? Oh no, that was 2 years ago. Right? So also, do we mean it? And therefore again, don't practice 300 different techniques. Because what happens then, your intent goes this way, that way, that way, that way, that way. You never hit the mark. Right? Practice one technique again and again and again, because that's how you're going to hit the mark. Right? If I want to play a music instrument, I'm going to play one day the violin. Go deeper in the skill what I have already. And how do I do this? Well, go to your teacher and say, hey, I want to go deeper in my skill. What can I do? How can I facilitate that? That makes sense too? Mm-hmm. And then I go like, hey man, there's a difference in it. Yeah? So therefore, better to be a real master, not buying a certificate, but really true, your own personal diligent practice of again and again and again and again and again, instead of being a jack of all trades. And I mean not a jack of all trades necessarily for other people, but for yourself. Right? Be kind to yourself. But that depends on our intent. Right? Do I really, and this sounds a bit difficult sometimes, but do we really want to heal? Do I really want to heal? And set that intent again and again. Yes. And then, which way? Just a pain in my knee? That I be a bit more comfortable? Whatever. Or you can set your intent that I'm free of anger and worry, that I be grateful, that I be true to my way of my being, and that I'm being compassionate. But often we have to reaffirm this. I do this for myself a lot. During the day, when I do my practice, I sit down and I set my intent. I'm doing this so that I can be free of anger and worry, that I can be grateful, that I can be true to my way of my being, and I can be compassionate. I wake up in the middle of the night. Well, I can complain that I wake up in the middle of the night, or I can say, I might not go chanting because I was staying over by Zainab and her husband, right? And I might go, oi, in the middle of the night. And they go, well, we're not inviting Frans over again. Right? But I can set my intent, right? Just in that space reaffirming, what do I want? It's not that difficult. And the more, again, that repetition of your intent, the more we're aiming that arrow. Right? the more we're going to hit the mark. But if I set once the intent and then I'm just drifting off, it's not beneficial. Again, so not only the practice you have to repeat, but your intent while you practice you have to repeat. Yeah? Then we have somewhere to go. Anybody have a question about it? I want to share something about it.
I had some, with her question about, or her observation about the clients, if they're falling asleep.
Yeah.
I think as practitioners, just
Don't fall asleep as a practitioner.
No.
And then you dribble a little bit on your client. It can happen, of course.
But just like your teacher, we are in ways teachers as well.
Everybody's a teacher, and every
Exactly.
teacher is a
And so
student.
It's helping them find their buttons, either pushing their buttons or helping them find their buttons.
Yeah.
Is what we do as well as practitioners.
But sometimes,
Inviting them to look at their buttons or to,
yeah. But sometimes, I think in our society, if I look at some of the teachers I had from Asia, they are still very direct. Very direct. Right? And we have become, I think, a bit more passive. Oh, it's okay. Oh, yeah, no problem. It's cool. Right? But then if we do sometimes, I do this sometimes. I don't do it often direct. I do it sometimes on Facebook just to piss people off or sometimes. But sometimes you have to. Right? It's true, right?
Yeah.
Because if you say something and I get angry, I actually have to thank you for bringing it up.
For you.
Yeah, for me. I have to say thank you because now I can do something about it, and then I can let go of my buttons, and then if someone does the same thing, but it's not easy. The other day someone said something and I indeed got a little bit angry. And it was some button, and as soon as I got a little bit angry, I thought, man, this has nothing to do with you. I said, it has nothing to do, it is my own button. I said, well, thank you for pointing that out. And then all was good, right? But if I keep blaming that other person that you made me angry, then also your practice is going nowhere. That makes sense too? So again, it comes also back to self-responsibility. But again, we can do this ourselves, not that easy, because we have to be brutally honest, looking in that mirror and say, hey, Frans, that person said something and you got angry, but in fact there's nothing to do with that person. It meant that I had some buttons. So I have to thank that person and say, thank you for pointing out these buttons. Right? Because now I can do something about it. Now I can do a meditation or some healing, or I can go to Jeff and say, hey Jeff, and Jeff presses more buttons and I go, what the hell? There's more of those things. So I have to keep persevering, keep practicing that we soften these buttons. That makes sense too? So therefore a spiritual practice is not easy. Right? If you think that a spiritual practice is easy, it's not that easy. It's tricky. Because we're going to look at these traumas, these buttons inside our body. We have to deal something. And this is why sometimes the spiritual practice has become an escape. We sit on a pillow and we go there and we don't want to be in our body. So it becomes an escape. But it's okay sometimes. We all need a little holiday once in a while. Don't get me wrong. But if we keep going on holiday from this physical body, then it's never going to heal. Right? We're never going to release it. So face the fears. Do it. Set your intent. This is what I want. This is how I do it. Find a good teacher. Find a good practitioner. And dig deep into one thing, yoga, Or even if you do two things, yoga and Reiki, is also fine, but aim at the same direction. Right? So if you feel you're a bit too much up here, right, then my aim of practicing yoga would be more into my body. So if I go to Jeff and I said, Jeff, I feel I'm a bit up here, I want to do your yoga classes, but I need to be more in my body. Jeff teaches me some asanas to be in my body. Now I go to my Reiki thing, and I need to ask actually the teacher the same thing. I'm working with Jeff. He's helping me to be more in my body. Give me also a Reiki exercise to be more in my body. But if the teacher gives you a Reiki exercise to be more here, one day you practice in your body, the next day you practice this. So you go like this. Again, it takes you nowhere. You get tired. So even if you practice two modalities is wonderful, but take it the same direction. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But don't do too many. Maybe 1, 2, maximum maybe 3, but I would just keep it by 2. Because, now I think there's even a word for it. I don't know in English, I can't remember. You go to the supermarket and you have too much choice. Has anybody, there's a word for it?
Overstimulation.
Overstimulation. No, it's like when you don't know what to buy, there's too many choice and then you actually don't buy anything. Huh? Analysis paralysis, yeah. And it's then we have all these different practices accumulated in our meditation spiritual shopping bag, and we want to sit to practice and we go, oh, shall I do this or that or this or that? Oh, that's finished. Right? Haven't done nothing. Next week we sit down again because we get confused because we need to do some more classes. And we sit again. Oh, now I've got something new, but I quite like the old one. Oh, shall I do this? 20 minutes finished again. And we have done again nothing. So do 1 or 2. It's the same, don't do this. If you have 20 girlfriends, man, you get tired. You have no idea which way to go. Just pick one. It's much better. It's much more focused. And therefore you both get more out of the relationship. Not mean you, but maybe, we don't know. Or you, I don't know. Or maybe he likes someone else here, I don't know. There's some cute girls here. Maybe someone wants you can't see it on the video, he's quite young. Maybe someone wants a toy boy, I don't know. He's looking at me like, what?
I didn't hear you say that.
You don't know what a toy boy is. Don't worry, I explain it after. We switched the video of our explaining.
Great.
I'm from Holland, don't worry. But Dina... Okay, so thank you for coming tonight. And thank you, Jeff, for organizing and Zeynep and Sundar, and for oh yeah, and wait, this works. Does it work as a little... Do we get everybody in? Oh yeah!